voice is a little scratchy today. I'll try and speak slower. I'm not sick. So, I learned a lot this week as I studied how we got the idea that they were kings, because that's not in Matthew, and how we got the idea there were three, because that's not in Matthew, and who exactly these strange visitors were. And I came across a great commentary on this, and I'll tell you the main points. I won't tell you all of it because it's long. But mainly, I learned a lot about what the word magi means. I knew it could be interpreted as an astrologer or a wise. We don't know that they were men. That was another thing it doesn't say. But rumor has it they were men. But it's actually more accurately describing Zoroastrian priests. Zoroastrian priests came from the land that's now Iran, but it was then Persia, and Zoroastrianism is the oldest religion in the world. So these priests were astrologers, so that's why it gets put down in our footnotes in our study Bibles that magi means astrologers, but it actually means Zoroastrian priests who used astrology to find when the next king was going to arise among the world, not just among their own people. Now, this religion was built around a prophet named Zoroaster, who was conceived by a 15-year-old virgin, began his ministry at the age of 30 after fighting the devil and succeeding. So, that's interesting, isn't it? What happens is they see a star rising, which we now know is the earth turning, but then they believed it was the stars that went around the earth. And it's a new star, and that tells them, according to their faith, that a new king has been born. So they take off from Persia, following the star, which is actually the earth turning, going due west from Persia all the way to Jerusalem and right into the office of King Herod. Now, I'm sure you all know this. This is not the same King Herod as the one who is involved in Jesus' crucifixion. This is a different King Herod. There's a whole string of them. Got to keep up. But this King Herod is introduced to us in this story as being very cunning and fearful. So he's not rejoicing that there is a new king born in Israel. He's threatened by it. Is power often threatened by usurpers? Yeah, we see this a lot all the time. Even Girl Scout troops. It happens everywhere. So we're getting a little pre-creation in this story of what's going to happen in Matthew's gospel. So we're going to see another Herod who is also going to be devious and kill people. We don't get that story today, but after the three kings, or the three Zoroastrian priests, make their way to Bethlehem, King Herod puts out a decree is going to kill all the babies from 2 years old and younger in Bethlehem, just to make sure that he doesn't survive infancy. So by that little hint, we know that Jesus, when these Zoroastrian priests make it to Bethlehem through the guidance of this beautiful star, that the baby could have been 2 years old or younger, at least 6 months old. But we celebrate it today, the day after the 12th day of Christmas, which was yesterday. Today is the Epiphany. And Epiphany means the manifestation of light. I hear from behind me, thank you. Manifestation or uncovering and revealing who Jesus really is. So, we've learned about the character of Herod and about the Zoroastrian priests, but what we really need to know as Christians who worship is what those Zoroastrian priests, otherwise known as the three kings, what they actually did when they got to see Jesus. They saw him face to face with Mary, his mother, and what did they do? They get down on their knees and they bow to the ground. They are saying, we are less than this king. They call him a king. They are not kings, but they call him a king, and they show their fealty to him, their obedience to him, and then they open up treasures. They give him treasures. Why do they give him treasures? He's a king. That's exactly right, because he's a king. And it's in the psalm that we said today that kings from Arabia and Seba, which is how they got the name kings, because it's in the psalm, which quickly became a psalm about Jesus in the early Christianity years. So that's where we get some of these ideas. It's from the Psalms, but this is what you do for a king. You bring him expensive, rare gifts, and you lay them at his feet. So that's what they do, and then what do they do? They go back to Persia. Are they now Christians? Doesn't say so. And it doesn't say anywhere that this Jesus is the Son of God, but Matthew develops the story later, so he will become the Son of God, just not in this story. We need to pay attention to three main things. What they did when they saw Jesus face to face is what we still do. We bow in obedience to Jesus after we see him face to face. In our normal humdrum lives, do we feel like we see him face to face all the time? Most of us feel like we're wandering around in the dark, which leads us to the star. The star directs us to the light of Christ. The star guides us to Christ and hovers over Christ until we latch on and see, oh, there he is. So we are to, follow the example of these Zoroastrian priests and take pilgrimages, knowing not where we're going to end up, knowing that the star is going to guide us through this dark and very unpredictable life, and that we will always have a star. We may not always see it, but we can ask God to provide it for us, to shine light upon what we need to see in Jesus' face. And then the other thing we need to know is that light is always with us, and nothing can put that light out, and that we carry that light within us all of the time. So that magic star that's shining the light of Christ in front of us, leading us on our pilgrimage, we have with us the whole time. And we can also just accept that even though we don't know it's in there and may not feel it, we are created in the image of God, which is light. And we have that lightness in the darkest place of our body, right around our hearts, right inside of our hearts. Our hearts glow with star power. So I think that's enough for one good reading.